Tim here, Tier D Adventures. Hope everyone's all well there. As always, thanks for tuning in. Much appreciated. So today we have a nice, awesome project here on the bench. We have my VS410 Phoenix, just with a hard body on here that I used recently for Class 0 at Crawlapalooza. Kind of in a rush, I needed something for Class 0, so we just put a hard body on a VS410 platform and let it ride, and it did really well. I'm super happy with everything. But now my plan originally before Crawlapalooza, I was going to try to build a C1 Pro chassis with this and everything else, but kind of just ran out of time and kind of got stuff a little rushed. I just had to make do with what I got. But now that we're all done with all that and we have plenty of time to spare, so we're going to take a new project. We're going to take as much of this I can. I believe probably the axles and the transmission. I'm going to try to use the transmission. We'll see what happens. But we are going to put it in a new chassis from Brazin Scale RC. So this here is the prototype version. This will not be the final version. There will be some changes and everything else along with it, but this is, I believe this is going to be called the C1 Leaf Pro. When I release this video, I'll have all the updated information and everything else linked down in the description. The C1 Pro Leaf chassis here, I got a set of leaf springs all mounted up and everything. We have a Brazin Pro skid up in here and the Brazin dual servo mount. Also, we do have a couple different shock tower options to mess around with there. It is leaf springs, and I am going to be using the F10 Phoenix axles. So also from Brazin Scale RC, we have the F10 leaf spring mounts. We have the over leaf spring and the under leaf spring. Not exactly sure which one I'm going to use yet. We will cross that path when we get the axles and everything mounted up. So definitely excited for this one, and just overall looking at the chassis and everything. Obviously no shock towers or anything on there, but most of my shocks will just basically be for looks at that point. But we have a nice, sleek, low-profile chassis. We do have a smaller belly and everything here. Now, Brazin with the Leafs recently came out with the full party mullet, or the half, which was a leaf spring on basically the Class 2 mullet chassis. And people really like that chassis a lot. But some people are like, well, I mean, a flat skid maybe run some Class 0 or some Class 1. So here we have it. We now have a flat skid on there. So this is a C1 legal chassis and everything else like that. If you do want to run some leaf springs on your Class 1 or want to just build a fun leaf spring truck. So I'm going to go ahead and get get some parts out of the VS410, get some axles, and try to get everything at least mocked up and see how everything's coming in. Well, it is together. I ended up getting a little further than I had anticipated for. Here it is, I believe it will be dubbed the C1 Pro leaf spring. All here in its utter glory. Everything actually went together pretty good once I got the leaf springs and everything mounted up. Again, it uses the Brazin dual servo mount there. So up there in the front, we got the G14 servo and the Reef's IS300 comp spec winch in there. Then moving down into that drivetrain, transmission and transfer case. I did have the twin VFD, and I could have gotten it to fit. I drilled my own holes here in the skid and was just looking at it, but it just set up just a little too tall, so I decided to scrap that idea. Went through the drawer, called my man Theron, and I had an extra Ford motor mount, but I was missing a T-case, and he had an extra Team Garage Hack Creeper T transmission, so we got that put in there with the Brazin Pro skid. Got the Creeper in there all nice, Ford motor mount, and again, with Brazins, you do have multiple mounting spots that will accept the Team Garage Hack Ford motor mount, whether it be in the standard configuration or the mirrored configuration. Obviously right here we have it mirrored due to the offset front axle. And overall that fit in there pretty good. You can see that motor and everything in there, nice, tight, right there in line. So it gets that motor nice forward and as low as it possibly can, and gives me lots of room for interior and stuff like that. Especially, this is a full hard body build. This is something that I will run for like Class 0 or stuff like that. But honestly, looking at the chassis and its overall clearance and stuff, like, I definitely could see this getting even more on the actual performance side. If I knew how to tune leaf springs and stuff like that better, I wouldn't mind, trying this out in like some Class 1 comps or something like that. Because, I mean, it does have a lot of clearance and stuff under here, depending on how your setup and everything else is. So going back over real quick, mine is F10 portal based, and I got the leaf springs attached with the Brazin F10 leaf spring mounts. And I said they have two versions. They have spring over and spring under. I chose to just go with spring over right now. It was just the easiest for me to get everything set up. And they fit in there real nice right there along the shock tabs. Everything's good. Got the leaf springs bolted up, got the shackles and everything in. Now, one cool thing with this chassis is you do have adjustability for your leaves and stuff like that. And again, this is the prototype, but a lot of these features will carry over. So we do have multiple adjustment holes here in the front and here in the rear to adjust your leaf springs, place your rear shackle, and then right here in the rear and here in the front, we have this slot. This slot is used to adjust your leaf springs back and forth, so you can make this chassis work with a variety of wheelbases, which is also very handy, especially for someone like me who does not do very many leaf spring builds and kind of gets confused on how stuff is. It comes real handy, especially like me, I'm running a longer wheelbase, so my wheelbase here is 12.5 on this to go with the LC70 body. So I've got everything, adjusted out. I was able to move my leaf springs around and get the whole thing assembled, then get your body on, and then you can simply loosen up the mounts and then slide your leaf springs back and forth a little bit, to get everything aligned with that wheelbase, cinch everything down, and you're good to go. And overall came out really good. One thing I did do a found a spare link that was the right length and everything, and got an anti-wrap bar there in the rear to keep that axle from spinning and stuff like that. And then here are the sliders. These are IERC sliders. These are actually for the RC4 drive extra cab body, and they do come with like 3D printed mounts to like mount the body. You mount the sliders, then you mount the 3D printed section to the slider, and then the body mounts to that 3D printed section. But just so happens they worked out very good width-wise to just barely cover the LC7 and everything like that. And then as far as body mounting, the pretty side is to have one of my 3D printed mounts here and an M4 Pro-Line cap will get that on, and then the same mount I used on it previously. I just took it off and bolted it to the chassis there, angled it down a little bit just to get everything done, and just some Velcro up top, which has actually worked out pretty well. I haven't had any issues with the body or anything coming off, but all in all, the thing, we did mention servo and winch in there, but so for motor, I'm running the Three Wheelers RC A6 1600 kV motor, and I'm pairing that with a Sound Assassin ESC. So now everything is nice and quiet. Don't have to worry about any humming and stuff like that. And wheels and tires, same as they were on there before. We have some Shift Maverick 1.9 in copper with some Jconcepts Hunk tires. They're class 1 tire, which is 3.85, which is generally most class 0 stuff like that. You're running a 4.0 or lower or shorter tire, so they fit right in there. So body on there, and again, I just use an M4 Pro-Line cap there in the rear, and then down there on the Velcro. I will finish this out once after I run it a few times if I need to make any adjustments or anything like that. Fill it out with some inner fenders there just to close all that off. And then as far as bumpers, I do have a bumper mocked up here in the front. Just have my RC fab tabs in there and just some aluminum tube that I've bent and kind of crimped in place so it doesn't move, just so I can get a mock-up feel of how everything looks and how I'm liking it. The rear bumper, it's going to take a little bit of work just because of how the LC70 is, and I don't want to cut the taillight section out, so I'm probably going to put a steel brace right in here and then weld some rod and try to bring the rod down right through here and then bring it out across the top there. So that'll take a little bit of work. I need to get all that room in there, so I was able to keep my interior and everything in there, so it is all nice deep. I have full-size seats in there and a figure and everything else. So overall, I think everything else looks pretty good. Like I said, I will get all this finished off with some inner fenders just to close all that out, and then probably do just a little strip like behind the grill or something like that, just to help make it a little more eye-friendly. And like I said, the sliders, a little bit wider would have been awesome, but honestly, they come out pretty good. They're not hanging way out past the chassis to create like a hang-up point, and they're nice and flush, so everything sets there. And as we can see, I mean, this thing does have quite a bit of clearance and everything under here. So sitting here on the bench, I mean, it's probably not the best. I mean, it's definitely top heavy, but I can fit my full hand underneath the skid. Definitely lots of clearance and stuff out there, which is always good when you're running kind of like a scale truck or a small tire truck. Just have some clearance so you're not hanging up on every little rock and stuff out there. So, and I'll have everything linked down below. Truck's probably been done for a while, just waiting on the chassis and everything to be released so we could actually link it through. But in the meantime, I think it's time to take it out and have some fun. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and until next time, everyone, have a great one. Crawl on.